So in this video, we're going to briefly go over railings. So in most cases, you're going to place a railing probably on the first floor if you have maybe an elevated porch. But in most cases, you're going to use a railing for your second floor. And in order to do that, you want to make sure that you're on whichever level in your project browser is appropriate. And then up here in your architecture tab, we have railing. If we click on the drop down, we have sketch path and place on stair/ramp. You're only going to use the second one if you've already had a stair or ramp placed. So if you don't know how to create a stair or a ramp, there are videos for those. So in this case, we're just going to use this one, assuming that we're putting it on the second floor for a railing. So if there's an overhang or something like that. So we're going to do sketch path. And then basically up here in your modify tab, of course, you have your draw tools, you have your modify. And in this case, the key thing with when you're doing a railing, it needs to be one solid line. You can't have it broken up into two sections. Also, up here, there's a couple options. For example, here's chain and then offset. You may run into a situation, especially in the certification test, where it's going to ask you to do an offset railing. So just be aware that if it does say somewhere about doing an offset, like you're trying to put it a specific distance away from something or a specific line, you'll want to change this value. So in this case, I'm just going to use a straight line. I'm just going to click, 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 and then right click, cancel. In this situation, if for some reason I drew another one over here, this would not work because it's broken. It's not a complete line. It has to be a fully complete line in order for it to work. And when you're happy with what you got, you can hit the green check mark. But also up here in your properties, you can switch the type of railing. So in this case, I'll go to let's say glass panel, and then hit the green check mark. So once you hit the green check mark, we're going to jump into our 3D view so we can actually see it. So here is the railing. The first thing is once you select the railing itself, you're going to see these arrows. Basically, these arrows are giving you the option to flip the railing. In this case, because I don't have a handrail on this particular railing, you're not going to be able to see the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this to guardrail pipe. And if we look very closely, it might be a little tough to see, but there's actually a handrail right here on the outside. So you can more so see it up here in the top left. There's a little handrail here. So if I select it and hit the arrows, it's going to flip it to the inside. So if you are doing a handrail for maybe an outside area or whatever it may be, just make sure that those arrows here switch it to make sure it's on the right side. And then there's not a whole lot left with railings. The only other thing is when you go to edit type, there's a bunch of different things you can change. You might run into a situation where you want to change these options, or specifically for the certification test, you might run into a situation where it's asking you to change certain values within here. So when you're here, if you're trying to do something custom, of course, you want to do a duplicate. In the construction area here, it says rail structure. If you go here where it says edit, you can actually change every single rail. So if we look at the specific example, there's a total of 7 rails going up, and we can change the location, so the height of each one of those. You can change the profile, so instead of a circular handrail, you can change it to elliptical, rectangular, whatever it may be. You can also change the category as far as the material of that particular railing. And then it'll bring up your material list. So I'm just going to hit cancel to back out of there. Baluster placement, if you have balusters in that specific thing, specific railing, you're going to have the option to change it. This is pretty in depth. In most cases, you're not going to want to change anything here, but it is good to know that it's located there. Continuing to go down, top rail, specific spot here where you can change certain values of that. And then also here with this particular type of railing, we have handrail 1. So we can see that it's circular, position is on left. You can always change it, and then if I hit apply, it's going to flip it to the other side. circular. If we choose this, what it does is basically the specific handrail itself. Now we can go in and change a bunch of different things about it. The material, we can change the offset, the hand clearance, how basically the distance away from the actual rails it is. You can change the profile. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. So if you ever run into a situation where maybe something is asking you to change the handrail or something like that, just know you have to go into your edit type to find it. Okay, but let's say everything is all good. I'm just gonna hit cancel so nothing happens. And the last thing that we really need to know is over here in your properties, it says here underneath dimensions, it says the length. More than likely, somewhere along the line, you're gonna have to find the length of something. So whether it be railing or walls, or it could be of various items. Just know that when you select the railing, there we go, selecting it, the length will show up here and in feet.